Ladies and gentlemen, we've got updates here after the 4th of July. I hope everyone had a happy Independence Day, happy 4th. And we move on into the middle part of summer here, or I guess if you want to be technical, summer starts on June 21st, although we all think it starts really like late May, maybe June 1st, but that's neither here nor there. The point of this is we're going to be taking a look at what's going on with Trump and the approval rating situation. I haven't done one of these videos in a while, and the reason is because there was going to be some turbulence. There was really no point in looking at approval during that 12-day saga where the war was raging, at least a little bit, within the Middle East between Israel and Iran, the United States getting involved. But now that that has subsided, at least for the time being, we have an update on a pretty good outlook in terms of the approval situation for Trump. He's sitting right now minus 3.3, but even Rasmussen, which is normally one of Trump's buffers, only has him plus 1. You would think as things get a little bit more rosy, you have the big, beautiful bill passing, you've got their momentum, you're going to get ramp up in deportations, you're going to get a potentially better economic outlook, although they're already trying to say, well, because the unemployment came in lower, they're not going to do any rate cuts. They're saying maybe not on July 30th, maybe in September. I know there's a huge campaign right now to get Powell out. Imagine if we got the rate cut soon. And by the way, another big thing to watch within the next week is going to be the tariff situation and how it's going to be working. The new estimate is around $350 billion per year in tariff revenue. That's with inflation right now stagnant. And so it's just amazing. But you look at the approval. I mean, a lot of these pollsters previously had Trump. We saw polls that had minus 15, minus 16. I mean, you still got the Reuters minus 16. But that was done at this point 2.5 weeks ago. That's going to fall off soon. But you also are going to have Insider Advantage fall off. Trafalgar, those are more positive pollsters. I mean, Quinnipiac sitting minus 13. They normally never do presidential approval rating polls, so hopefully they won't do another one because they are very negative against Republicans in general. Their polls are always like that, and they've been like that. But I would say right now minus 3.3 is a decent number for Trump, considering we are about to see the fruits of our labor when it comes to this Trump administration, everything that they've done. Whether or not Russia-Ukraine ends, people are saying there's no chance. It seems like Russia wants more land. We'll see what Trump does with that. But the point is, we are looking at an economy with a ton of upside. We have the low inflation. We have a GDP that's probably going to come in terms of the growth rate at around 4.5% in Q2. That was the last estimate I saw, maybe around 4%. And so when you have numbers like that, we would expect the rate cuts to come at some point and the economy to boom. And if we get that with the geopolitical situation right now to where hopefully Israel-Iran is in a spot to where there is a prolonged ceasefire, I mean, you never really know. It's one of those things. It's like, can we confirm for certain that they don't have any enriched uranium? No, of course they have enriched uranium. The issue is 2 or 3 months from now, Israel's probably going to say, well, they're starting to really ramp it up and we got to go do another strike. And that's where the problem really comes into play. I said that, well, if Trump's going to go, and I hope I hope it's get in, get out. And that's kind of what it was. But you do have to wonder if something happens within the next year before the midterms, how big of a problem that's going to be. But with the passage of this bill, this is going to be a boom for the economy, undoubtedly, with all of the tax breaks, really just extending the current tax breaks onto the future, as well as you have the no tax on tips, the no tax on overtime. People say, well, it's limited to a certain amount you can make, but it's still $25,000 before you start getting taxed on either of those. So, and then you also do have a remittance tax. That's another avenue that we're going to make at least a little something. We would like the remittance tax to be a lot higher than 5%. You also have to be worried about the remittance tax, that people trying to get around it with crypto and other things. There's also a big event with crypto. They're saying it's a crypto week late in July. So that's another. These are all really just conjumbled thoughts. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to remember everything that's happened recently because the news has kind of died down a little bit, but I would say the next big thing is the tariff situation. We're going to see, and it seems like what Trump is saying just from the tea leaves, with a lot of these smaller countries, they're just going to set a tariff rate and they're going to go from there. I really think Trump has been very experimental in his approach with the tariffs. you see the initial Liberation Day, the crazy balloon tariffs. Really, they were based off of the deficit, not necessarily the tariffs the countries had on us. He was saying it was they were retaliatory in nature. They really weren't. Again, it was the deficit, and we're going to have an insane deficit with a lot of these smaller countries because our economy is so much bigger and our consumer base is so much bigger. But whatever you want to call it, Trump brought the tariffs down to a 10% global rate. And so at this point, the administration can say whatever they want in terms of the revenue. From what I've seen, it's around $22 to $23 billion per month in tariff revenue. And I'm guessing Trump probably wants to bump it up a little bit more because during Trump's first term, we upped our tariff revenue pretty significantly. And then even during Biden, they kept those tariffs in place and our revenue went up even more to where we were making around 150 billion, I believe, annually in tariff revenue. Now, what Trump has done, if this stays in place, he's bumped it from about 150 billion to about 350 billion. But I think as Trump's going to try and push the tariffs up even more, that's why people are saying, oh, the futures are down because Trump is talking about bringing the tariffs back up. But it's not going to be like it was on Liberation Day. We have the key deals. We're not going to have 145% tariff on China. We're not going to have crazy high 90% tariffs on some of these countries. There might be a tariff raised on Japan. There's going to be some type of deal with the EU. I would imagine some type of tariff, whether it's the 10%, 20%, whatever it is going to stay in place on the EU. We'll see if we come to an agreement with, I've heard Brazil, I've heard India, South Korea. There's a number of these countries. I don't know if we came to an agreement with Taiwan yet. I know semiconductors are not tariffed because we can't afford that right now because we don't have the domestic production of semiconductors yet. But this is just an overall look. This is not bad being -3, especially considering the haziness within a lot of these polls. I mean, you're talking about many of these polls coming during the middle of that 12-day war that happened. And so there's going to be a lot of people not happy about that. Any war in the Middle East, just the idea of it and the spectacle of Trump saying no new wars and then this immediately happening with Trump then saying, yeah, I was in cahoots with Netanyahu. We planned it. We lulled them to sleep and then Israel struck them. You know, that's not going to be a great look for most Americans. Now, you could say, well, it worked out for Trump, which it most certainly at this point did. We weakened Iran, and the estimates now, we set their nuclear program back. I heard Pentagon estimates, depends on what you look at, but like a few years, if you think that's good, if you think that's bad. I mean, I don't know. It just, we'll have to see, but, you know, they said they destroyed all the centrifuges in Fordo, and the Estefan conversion center just obliterated. I mean, they don't have the capacity, they don't have the infrastructure to make a nuclear bomb right now, Iran. And that was just one single strike, and Trump was the one to announce it. So you've also got this generic congressional vote, Democrats sitting plus 2.3. I don't know, is there a graph on this? This really doesn't surprise me, just based off of how the midterms work normally, with the opposing party being up at least slightly, them being plus 2.3 relative to where they were like in 2018. They were plus 8, plus 9 throughout the entire polling cycle before the midterms. I mean, it's just a completely different ball game nowadays. That's why we're very confident the Republicans, certainly based off of just the races that there are in terms of the Senate, the Republicans should keep it very easily. And then with the House, I would say it's 50-50. We'll have to see. There's a lot of different factors, including primaries, including possibly districts being redrawn, that could affect which way the House would go, at least within the next 7 or 8 months. And then we'll really get into the predictions on the 2026 midterms, because that's what everyone wants to talk about, because that's the next thing. It's the 2026 midterms, and then it's the 2028 election. But really, there's, you know, it's a political eternity. Even a year from now, the midterms would still be months away. So you have to take that into account. And then you've also got this Tennessee Republican sends Doug Burgum letter calling for Trump to be added to Mount Rushmore. And so you see something like this, and it's mixed emotions, because I don't even think Mount Rushmore can add another presidential head. They've done tests, and they say even on that front face, they can't support it. You know, and they say, well, it's a monument and it's not meant to, things are not meant to be added to it. And they tried to add Reagan and they tried to add JFK and all these other presidents, and it hasn't happened. And now all these Republicans are coming out saying, we want Trump for a third term. We want Trump on Mount Rushmore. Anna Paulina Luna said it. Now you've got a Tennessee Republican. I mean, this is, you know, we want Trump to do well. Him being added to Mount Rushmore, I mean, I like Trump as a president, certainly, but, you know, it's a bit premature. if we're going to be honest about this. And so, I would just say, let's see. They've said that the parks people within South Dakota have said, well, it's not feasible. I mean, we've done tests and, it can't support the weight of it the way we have to chisel it out. It can't really support Trump or any other president being added to that front face. And so people are wondering, would it ever happen? I mean, you look at Mount Rushmore, it is 4 Republicans. It would be nice to make it 5. Again, they tried with Reagan. It got shot down. With Trump, I mean, Trump has barely started his second term here, right? Let's see if we can get the deportation numbers to where we want them. And, we've been told with the self-deportations, it's just insane. I mean, it's around a million self-deportations is what I was told. And so that's just unbelievable. And then you've got the physical deportations as well. It's like 1.1, 1.2 million total deportations in the first 5.5, 6 months of Trump's presidency. These numbers are just, they're so unbelievable. And now just the infrastructure buildup within ICE is just insane. The amount they're spending, it's such a huge, I mean, this is Trump's mandate and he took advantage of it. And one of the big things that he did in terms of spending within this bill was border enforcement. And that's what Trump said he was going to do. So he kept his word on that. And now we just have to make sure that we deport these people at a ratio in which is a good spending in terms of the because if you invest a lot but then you don't deport a lot of people, it's a problem. So if you're going to spend a lot on ICE, you need to make sure you deport the people. But in terms of this stuff, I mean, let's I don't even think it's possible. I'm not sure it's feasible to add another presidential head to Mount Rushmore. They've said it's not. But even if it was, with Trump just starting his second term, this is a little bit premature when you're talking about something like this. Let's be honest, right? I think this is like, but now you've got these people within Congress saying, yes, we need to do this. It's important. And so, I mean, I don't think this is going to go anywhere with Trump. I mean, if he has the other thing with Trump, he's just so polarizing. He's so polarizing. So many people hate him at this point. It's just Trump's been in the spotlight for so long. A lot of the times with the people that have TDS, we've reached a maturing process with them to where you just don't care what they say at all. Like it's just irrelevant. And so, but I understand they're Americans and they care and stuff, I guess. Although a lot of them hate the country and hate how we were founded and hate that we were founded by white men. But that's why you look at the opinion polls and it says, well, are you proud to be American? And it's like 22% of Democrats say they're proud to be American. Even, by the way, if a Democrat was in office, it still would be very low for the Democrats. It'd still be very low. And it has, in the past, you look at when Biden was in, the people still were not, Democrats were still not happy with it. So that's not too surprising. But overall, when it comes to this approval rating, I mean, I think the approval rating is in a good spot. You take a look at the economy. The economy's doing great. Yeah, these numbers at some point are going to have to come back for Trump just because, I mean, you just look at all of the metrics. Right now, you're generating significant revenue from tariffs. I mean, if it's $350 billion a year, that's a lot when you look at, I mean, it's significant. It's about 17% of the deficit getting cut off through tariff revenue. That's with stagnant inflation. This is with real wages among blue-collar jobs up at a high in like a 90-year high. I mean, they say it's a 3-generational high with blue-collar jobs since Trump came in. And you've got all these companies now forced to produce domestically. All of the auto manufacturers saying we're building domestically. That's a huge thing with the 25% auto tariffs that Trump has imposed and said we're keeping those on throughout the entirety of my administration. And even if a liberal won, I'm sure they would stay on because that type of tariff has serious bipartisan support. So these are things where Trump is reshaping everything within the economy and all of the metrics and the 4.5% growth rate and the tariffs not infecting inflation. And so all of it's coming together. How can it be minus 12? It makes no sense. I just saw gas at around 259. I haven't seen that and you could say, well, the president doesn't control the energy, but I mean, that's going to help for sure. The fact that even when we had the Middle Eastern situation, it was legitimately a week and a half where crude oil looked like was going to spike up significantly, and then it shot way back down. So when you've got something like that, when you've got energy as low as it is, it affects the truflation, it brings it down under 2%. You have the low unemployment, and you've got now the reports of significantly less part-time jobs, which is really what held up Biden's jobs reports. The people would get second and third jobs, be part-time jobs. They say, look, the job market's growing. No, these are crap second and third jobs. that are part-time. With Trump, the part-time jobs are going down. The full-time jobs are going up significantly. And so it's the level of quality of jobs within Trump, and also it's the foreign versus native in terms of the foreign jobs are going down significantly with the deportations, a lot of the self-deportations, they're getting crushed. And so we're losing a lot of the foreign jobs and they're going to native-born people. This is exactly what we wanted. So you look at something like that, it is really nice. The foreign policy, it's always going to be, I mean, the foreign policy, it's like, you know, how do you have a positive approval rating? It's so subjective. Immigration, I don't know how this is possible. Quinnipiac has Trump. Yeah, I mean, Quinnipiac obviously probably took a poll from Massachusetts and said this is Trump's national approval rating. That's what it was. But Trump, in terms of immigration, you could say, well, he hasn't deported enough people. But if you count those self-deportations, there's been a lot of people that have left this country. And you also have something like the infrastructure that they're investing into with the big, beautiful bill. And you also have the overall border numbers and just the fact that Trump has shut the border down even before finishing the full construction on the wall. You know, they've made zones within the border to where they can arrest anyone that steps foot in it. So they're just totally shutting the entire border down. They've rezoned areas right up against the border with Mexico. And this is just amazing. And I mean, there's zero illegal immigration into the United States. Trump has completely shut it down. And think about how easy it was. Day one, it got shut down. Inflation, I mean, listen, this is just because people say, well, things haven't gone down. But even you would think this would budge at least a little bit with gas going down. Undoubtedly, gas has gone down. Undoubtedly. Right? And obviously the eggs have come back down as well. But in general, you know, with inflation, we're going to need to see prolonged prices lower. People aren't necessarily going to look at truflation. They're not going to look at core inflation readings relative to the expected, because we've got numbers that say within the first 4 months, the first 5 months of Trump's presidency, the inflation has been lower than the expected number. So he's brought inflation down relative to the expectations, and he's still going to get a -20 on this because people say, well, you know, the general vibe is that we can't feel it. Well, I mean, it is something that Biden had to deal with as well, but Biden earned it because they ran up inflation to whatever number it was. During Trump's first term, inflation was extremely low. When Biden entered, the inflation rate was 1.1%. And they had to print money because everything was closed, but they printed way too much and they didn't raise the interest rates quick enough. See, they wouldn't raise them quick enough under Biden. Now they're waiting too long to lower them. Israel-Hamas conflict, I mean, we'll see if there's some. I mean, apparently there's a ceasefire with that. Direction of country, I mean, these metrics are... Yeah, the direction of country ever since Trump got in has been a bit better. We'll see if that... You know, Biden had a little bit of a boost as well. So it's kind of traditional when a new president enters for it to go back up a little bit. We'll have to see in terms of that. But when you look at all the important stuff, you know, because they factor all this in. Economy looks good. Foreign policy, Israel-Iran situation seems to be subsided. You'd love to get a ceasefire between Hamas and... Apparently they are working towards it, Hamas and Israel, and then maybe some type of two-state solution that I heard they're working towards. Immigration looks great with more money on the way. Inflation is tamed right now. The Israel-Hamas conflict may have a ceasefire. So all of these things to me look to be in a very, very good spot. And hopefully that continues. I think it's really going to help Trump's approval rating. Either way, guys, make sure you like the video down below. Also follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.